Welcome back, everyone. I want to show you now how we can paint the tree and the fence into our landscape. So in the document that I created for paint night, there's a whole bunch of different tree style examples. It's really up to you what you want your tree to look like. So take a look at that document, take a look on your phones, your Chromebooks, and look at images of winter trees that have lost their leaves. So I'm starting on the second layer of snow. So that was that mid-tone layer. And I'm building up a trunk and creating the letter Y. So if you see here, I'm going to back it up a little bit. Oh, Miss Meehan, what did you do? Hold on, let me back up here. Getting ahead of myself. So starting at the bottom, work your way up, split to the letter Y. And then off of that Y, you're going to create little V's. They can be very stylized, or they can be very straight letters like block letters. So you can have the branches at the end of the V's twist and twirl. You can have them kind of jaggedy. I'm using a fairly large brush for this because I'm using a flat brush. I've dipped just a little black paint on the edge of the flat brush, and I'm painting it using the side. So I can get pretty thin lines by the amount of paint I have and the way that I'm holding the brush. If I had paint all the way down to the metal part of the paintbrush, there's no way I'd be able to get thin lines like this. If you want your tree to have just a few branches, you could stop with something like this. Or if you want more branches, you want a really full, older tree with a lot of branches on it, you can keep going. You can also switch to smaller size brushes, because as we go adding the Y's and the V's, our branches are going to get smaller and smaller until we just have little twigs. So let me speed myself up here now. Look how fast I'm drawing those branches. So again, just using the side of the brush, little Y's and little V's. Now I'm going in with an even smaller brush to add some teeny little branches at the end. So the smaller the brush and the less paint you have on the brush, just a little bit at the end, the thinner, more controlled lines you're going to be able to create. If you find you have too much paint on the brush, wipe it off on the paper towel. You can wipe it off on your palette. If you feel like your brush is getting really bogged down with paint, rinse it in your cup, wipe it on the paper towel, and start fresh. At any point, if you feel like your tree has the amount of branches that's making you happy, you can stop and allow it to start to dry. Once you have the branches in, you might want to go back and refine the shape of the trunk itself. As I was adding more branches to the top of this, it started to feel a little top heavy to me. So I went in and just thickened up the trunk a little bit on that tree just to make it look like it can, support the weight of all those branches. There we go. So I filled that in. Really nice thing about acrylic paint, it's forgiving in that you can paint a lot of layers on top of old layers as long as they're dry. So it's difficult to remove the paint after you've put it down if it's dry, but you can always paint back on top of it. So now I'm going to go in with the fence. So I'm taking like a medium-sized brush and I'm mixing up some gray. So a little bit of the white and black together. I want like a medium gray, not too light where it's almost white and not too dark where it looks like black, because I want the fence and the tree to stand out from each other. And I'm going across my page where the snow is touching the tree trunk, and I'm putting in vertical fence lines. I do 7, but you can do as many as you want. If you want the fence posts closer together, you can add in more. And mixing that same gray, I'm now connecting my fence posts. So they're going to go all the way to the edge of the canvas off the page. They don't have to be perfectly straight across. If some of them are a little crooked, it actually gives your fence a little more style, a little character. If you'd like to use one of those fine brushes to add some shadow or detail or texture to your fence, go right ahead. For this sample, I'm going to keep the fence pretty basic and just have the solid wooden posts going off the canvas. Okay. Oop, I got some advertisements there. So this is where I would end my tree in the fence here to let this dry. We want to give this a good 10, maybe 15 minutes or so, depending on how thick you made your fence, before we go in and add the little red cardinals and the snow, which will be in the next video.